So a lot of people are really upset about Fanstoys pricing and how Fanstoys have been increasing their prices over and over, increasing their prices on top of themselves, and it is getting quite pricey. Today, I'm going to talk about this, and I'm going to talk about how they're doing it, and they still sell out of pre-orders in minutes to hours. It's not even days anymore. We're going to talk about all this coming up. So first of all, the reason Fanstoys is charging such a high price is simply because they can. You know, you think about it, and there's a whole lot of factors, and we're going to go into every one of them, but there's a whole lot of factors that go into pricing. But when you look at it, if you can make maximum amount of money for minimum amount of effort, or even if you're putting maximum amount of effort, you want to be compensated to the maximum amount for your work, then of course you're going to charge more. So that's only one factor that's going on in there, but it has to be going on. But we're going to address every one of these issues coming up. One of the problems is there's more collectors than ever chasing the same number of figures getting produced. So even if they produce the same number of figures, and we're going to get into the numbers that I'm speculating very shortly, there are more collectors going after it. 2020 ushered in the largest bump in collectors in the community than ever, and it's usually a really good thing. In fact, I still view it as a very good thing. The community is growing. You can look at Facebook pages. There are more Facebook pages about Transformers and Masterpiece Transformers. There are more members to each existing page. There's so much proof and evidence that it is growing. The community is growing. So that is one of the largest factors, if not the largest factor in the price increase. Some people are speculating that it's a lower production run, so they produce less, and I disagree 100%. A lot of people are speculating this, and I'm going to tell you exactly why. They feel like Fanstoys is under some heat after the Weijing shutdown and raid and all of that stuff going on, that Fanstoys is in fear of the same thing happening to them. But see, Fanstoys does have their own designs, and they always know how to play the field so that they don't get into any trouble. And this does kind of date back to Zeta. And when I got upset that Zeta was taking on Hasbro at the same time with Unicron during the HasLab, kind of like what's going on right now with two other companies, the same time with Starscream, I was worried about all that. Zeta's still up to their old tricks, and I worried that Fanstoys could get involved and get in trouble for just doing business as normal while there's some shady tactics going on with Zeta. But that's still not what's going on right here. So the ultimate theory is Fanstoys is doing a hit it and split it, make very few, make them very fast, and not get caught with product in the factory, and not get caught with a raid, and just get it, ship it out, and be done with that run. But I really don't think it's that urgent, and they're trying to move that fast. And I don't think they went from 5,000 down to, say, 2,000. I still think they produced relatively the same number. I don't think that the TF sources and the Chosen Primes out there are getting 200 instead of 400. I still think they get about the same quantity. Now, we've seen with this last run of the bugs, and I believe the same thing's going to happen with the Dinobots, with the Soar and the Stomp that are getting reissued, that they're actual new production runs. But we know Fanstoys has held back approximately 10% of the stock. So if they do a 5,000 production run, they hold back 500. If they do a 6,000 production run, they hold back 600, and then they sell them later to fund another project. That's not a bad tactic, and it also gets that whole secondary market bump. They can charge a little more if they choose to do that, which they have done. It's very obvious, but they didn't do it with this. They did it with their last one, Coot, that reissue of Coot, but they didn't do it with this one. So there's a practice with the third-party distributors now that these third-party distributors are either holding back some stock or only fill pre-orders, and then what they have left goes up at a much higher price point. And this is a holdback of stock in a way, one way or another, and it's a way of doing business. This is still lower than a secondary market. It's still cheaper than trying to get it off eBay from someone who bought an extra and tried to double their money. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit. But it's one of those things that really bothers people because of the fact that so many people want to buy it at retail. They can't even get a pre-order in time, and then what's left, they have to pay an additional amount. But I do want to say it makes it available. So there is kind of a double-edged sword here, the higher price and kind of the practice that we're seeing of a slight holdback of a smaller percentage of these distributors. That holdback in a higher price sell equals availability in the market that's still lower than a scalper. So a lot of people try to say the price increases are because of scalpers, and the reason they sell out is because scalpers are buying 30 of them or something. Well, I do see maximums on a lot of these. Like you can only order 2 or 3, and I don't really see a problem with somebody ordering 2 or 3, but I don't see people getting 20 from one distributor. If you are smart and you wanted to be a scalper, pre-order from 7 different distributors and order 7 that way, or 20 different distributors and get that way. That's definitely a way to do it. It's a hassle, a lot of work to keep up with, but if that's what a scalper wants to do, they can do it. But I don't truly think that scalping is exactly what's causing the price increase. See, the price increase is going up and up and up because everybody wants a big piece of that pie before it hits the secondary market value increase. So obviously, inflation is a big part of it. So when you start talking about inflation, you got to say we are actually in a relatively high inflationary time frame. It will rival the 70s, and I believe vastly surpass anything we saw in the 70s inflation-wise. When we're seeing 30% increases in food, that is crazy on certain specific items. When we're seeing lumber double in price, what felt like overnight, but it was about a 4-month doubling of price for lumber. So looking at this, the inflation is kind of crazy, but I have an argument against the inflation argument when it comes to Masterpiece Transformers. So looking at this right here, we can see that Bad Cube is reissuing figures, and their figures are only going to be about $6 more or 10% more than they were when they were initially released. And then we're looking at a 3rd or a 4th run. So for that, I really see this as a counter argument to inflation. Now, these are small figures. These will not get hit nearly as bad with the shipping expense, the increase in shipping, and that is crazy amount of shipping. But the smaller figures shouldn't make as big of a difference. But the deal is, it can still be done relatively close to what they were selling before, but Bad Cube isn't commanding double the price like Fanstoys. Although these figures specifically were selling close to $300 in the secondary market. And lastly, I've got 2 points to round out to finish this up. And the first one is, what will the pricing structure be for Outrider and Berserk? They have already said, Fanstoys has already given direction to take down all pre-orders, cancel every pre-order, put them back up at the new price point of $150 for Outrider instead of $100, and then Berserk is going to be $220? But now, when you look at it, Perceptor 2.0 or Tesla 2.0 is $220, and that's the Outrider price, Outrider size figure. So will Outrider take $220 and will Berserk take $300? Is that going to be the new pricing structure? Will they have to take down all the orders, cancel all the orders again, and then put them up with a new price? Like, what is going to happen with that? Or will they honor the original price that they've already changed? So there's a lot to be said, or questions to be asked about this whole situation. The pricing going up like crazy, and it just makes no sense, and there is no warning. It's kind of odd, but again, I'll tell you why I think. Because Fanstoys can ask whatever they want for their figures. Fanstoys can command whatever price they want to charge for their figures, whether it be a reissue, whether it be a new issue, because their figures are that sought after. They have a lot of people that defend them. If only there was a term, defending Fanstoys. Oh, I don't know. I can't think of one. But people defend Fanstoys. whatever, no matter what. I love Fanstoys products, but I'm almost priced out of this because these things are just that expensive. But I'm curious what you think. Do you think the Fanstoys products are getting too expensive? Do you think that it makes no sense that they're pricing it so high and they still sell out? Like, at what point will they not sell out immediately? $1,000 a figure? I mean, is that the future? $1,000 figure? Who knows? Let me know in the comments below. I'd like to hear what you think. Like, subscribe to Dear Hanger out.